really does taste better with these things. This is a Beesline hemp wick, if you ever wanted to find one. Welcome to the CannbiNews Network. I'm Sam Humeid. This is the news roll-up with my friends here. Henrik Larsson, Henrik the Swede, the author. Erica Adamson. You can find her at YouTube at E.A. Braid, B-R-A-I-D.
Right.
I can spell. It's been a long day, and I've smoked a lot of these already. So the fact that I can remember that's stunning. Much appreciated. This is Alex Mandelberg, the incredibly funny comedian. You can find him online. Google his name. And this is Alan Fradkin, General Manager of Perennial Holistic Wellness Centers of America. And tonight's topic... Tonight's topic is K2, synthetic marijuana. Not what we're smoking here.
Yeah. No.
This is the real deal. We're talking about the synthetic stuff. If you look it up online on Wikipedia, it's called JW18 or 08. What is it?
JWH18.
GWH18.
I just want to say on the record, kids, don't try it. It's even worse than sativa. Or not sativa, salvia. Shit.
Salvia. Yeah, salvia's a crazy trip too.
Yeah, I mean, like shit. It's all shit. Stick with it.
So I was talking to Alan earlier today. I learned that I thought synthetic marijuana was actually like a blend of herbs that simulated marijuana. But apparently, as Alan described it, they had a chemical that they just spray on these plants, whatever it might be, cloves or some other smokable herb, and they sell that. And the problem is that you were explaining the CBD aggression on it?
Well, the JWH, which is what they're calling it, binds to the CB1 receptor like THC does, which is essentially what makes you feel high. The problem is that these smokable legal herbs that they're treating with this compound don't naturally contain necessarily any other cannabinoids in proportions that you would find them in cannabis. So where the problem comes in is where you have THC, which is an agonist of the CB1 receptor, and CBDs and CBNs that interfere with that THC uptake. It all affects how the effect comes on, and when you isolate one of them, specifically THC, which is the psychoactive heavy hitter, so to speak, you can get all kinds of nasty side effects like paranoia and schizophrenia type symptoms. I've talked to people who say that there are, hyperactivity and violence issues, stuff you wouldn't normally associate with people getting high on.
Some story about some guys down in Florida had some issues with some stuff like that, I heard.
The guy that held his face, right. He was high on bath salts, so that was different.
Well, I've done spice before, and I wasn't biting off anyone's faces, so...
Right. But you didn't like it, though, from what I understand.
It was horrible. And I mean,
can you explain the effects? I'm never going to do it. So you've tried it.
I knew immediately that I wasn't sober,
right?
But I also knew that it wasn't right, as far as my effects.
Okay.
I don't know. At one point, guys, I thought I saw some bunnies. I've only done it once.
Really? You hallucinated?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
See,
I saw actual rabbits.
Yeah.
In your wow.
That's where I lose it. I'm not one of the hallucinogenic.
That's kind of where I want to try it. It's like,
don't do it.
At the time, I couldn't smoke marijuana, so
you're an asshole.
I tried to do the substitute, which is a terrible substitute because obviously marijuana is natural, it grows, but that's something.
Right.
Well, it seems like any time that anything is treated or altered in any way, it all of a sudden stops from being a plant and goes to being a drug that could potentially be bad for you. I mean, cocaine as it grows as a plant is not as horrible as when it's treated and shoved up someone's nose.
Exactly.
It really is about as natural as possible, as keeping it more healthy, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's cut to a segment with Gabe Green where he's going to break down K2, spice, the drugs, the random ways that different companies have changed the chemical nature of K2 so that they can get past different patent laws and different FDA regulations banning it. Gabe, you're on.
It's not just a mountain, K2, but it is a synthetic form of marijuana. And, unfortunately, it's been getting some pretty negative press. And it's something that a lot of people aren't familiar with that might be cannabis users, but it's become pretty popular because up until very recently it was legal, and even though it's no longer legal, it is quite available and pervasive.
Is it dangerous?
It is dangerous, and it's dangerous in a way that most cannabinoids are not. In fact, here's an article about synthetic marijuana being linked to 3 heart attacks. 3 heart attacks, get this, in 16-year-old boys. Okay?
In teenagers?
Yeah.
Wow.
3 teenagers in Texas took K2. They were cannabis users, and they decided, well, K2 is the new thing. It's legal, and it's probably got more of a kick to it. And,
does it? Have you?
I personally don't know. I'm not a cannabis user, but from what I can tell, there's a lot of effects that are seen in these compounds that aren't in regular cannabis. And what happens, I mean, people describe dizziness, dissociation, depression.
And you're saying heart attacks, meaning it's giving them rapid heart movement or rapid heart palpitations?
Yeah, it gives them a very rapid heartbeat, and
it's almost
perhaps
it sounds like speed. It doesn't even sound like cannabis.
It doesn't sound like cannabis at all. These compounds, I'm not opposed to synthetic cannabinoids. They have their place, but these particular ones are bad news. And let me explain a little bit about why that is.
Please do.
Okay, you have. Okay, I'm going to show you, and don't get all intimidated, you guys out there in television land or internet land, because I'm actually showing you chemical structures. But the point is to see patterns, because the shapes of these molecules determine how they react in your body. And subtle changes make a big difference. Now this is a picture, this is a drawing of the actual molecular structure of delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, known as THC. And this is, of course, present in natural cannabis. It can be synthesized. The synthetic form is what we know as Marinol, that's given to cancer patients by prescription. Now, if you take a look at this, each one of these is a carbon atom, just so that you know. And anytime there's a vertex, there's a carbon atom. So take a look at this, and then take a look at the structure below it. Can you see it's got the 3 rings? It's got these 2, these are called methyl groups. And it's got the double bond here, it's delta-9, that's the location of the double bond. So anybody who wants to know why it's delta-9 THC, it's the numbering system on this little ring. Here, this is moved over here, but look, everything else is pretty darn similar, except that now you have a slightly longer chain of carbons. Okay, you have one more carbon here, and you have this, what's called a gem dimethyl group. This is a synthetic cannabinoid called HU210. It's one of the things in K2. If you take this and further modify it, okay, now let's say you get rid of this part of the molecule, okay, and now you have this hexagon attached to this hexagon, and this is called a cyclohexanol, and this is a phenyl group. Now you have a structure like this. So this is basically a stripped down version of this. Can you see this thing doesn't have that piece?
Yeah.
It doesn't have the third ring.
Like morphed into its own little thing here.
And guess what? This is even more potent. And it's in K2. It's in spice. Okay, CP 47497 is what it's called. And then you take this, And these look almost identical, don't they?
Yes.
Almost identical. You know the difference? This chain.
This is longer.
That's exactly right. This is called the 1,1-dimethyl-octyl homolog of CP47497, otherwise known as cannabicyclohexanol. And what these compounds have in common is that they're all now on the Schedule 1 controlled substances list. These are all banned. These are synthetic cannabinoids that are dangerous. These are synthetic cannabinoids that are causing heart attacks. They're causing depression. Really, really nasty side effects that we don't see.
Even in Marinol, though, I've also heard people who have taken Marinol and had very bad side effects as well. Are any of these in Marinol, or are they strictly in...
No, these are strictly
Spice.
in Spice or K2. Marinol is pure synthetic delta-9 THC.
Okay.
Now, that's an interesting question that you raised. Why would people have bad effects from Marinol as opposed to natural cannabis? Well, because natural cannabis is a mixture of a bunch of different cannabinoids. You know, it has all kinds of derivative structures of the THC. Marinol is just plain THC. So if you have a negative reaction to THC, you're not going to do well on Marinol, but some strains of cannabis might have a very low fraction of THC and might have a very high fraction of something like CBD, which we're going to hear about, which doesn't have the psychoactive effects. So it's all in this ballet of this molecular ballet or molecular Macarena that we're doing here between the cannabinoids and their receptors. It's a lock and key thing. It's how these molecules fit in their receptors, and if the fit isn't quite right, or if it's too perfect a fit, you might get too much of a reaction.
All right, thank you, Gabe. So that's crazy stuff. Like what Gabe explained right there. K2 is absolutely terrible. It creates what Alan explained, these psychotic episodes. It
What I don't
destroys your
understand is
brain.
why would these companies be funding this money in order to further the research to try to, when that money could go towards legalization and cultivation of the more natural form?
Well, there's a sound market for this stuff, and the reason is that because it is a sort of a synthetic mimic of the THC molecule, when you test for drugs on the standard tests, they don't test for JWH necessarily, so that it wouldn't be relevant. So military, it's popular with people who have drug tests for work. There's a demand for it, unfortunately.
Right. It's the same people that
But don't these people? I mean, they're. I mean, without admitting to anything, I mean, I have taken a drink that I would be told would make sure that within a couple days I would. I mean, it seems like there would be other ways rather than risking your health.
But not if you don't have enough
try and cheat
opportunity.
a drug
Up
test.
until they banned it in all 50 states.
But on the
You could just go
recreational-
to a broke, you could go anywhere and buy it.
But you're from a
I
place
haven't.
like South Carolina, where if you're found with even the smallest amount of marijuana, you're going to jail for a long time.
Yeah, and so people resort to smoking things like that.
Right.
And
How
there's
about-
moldy weed on the recreational drug market. I think it's a given when you buy recreational drugs that you're putting your health at risk. I think people are.
I guess
And this is something you used to be able to buy at 7-Eleven. And you can still have it. You can still find it. It's available pretty much anywhere. And it's being sold. It's different things.
It's very dangerous though, and you know, like
Clearly.
I was saying, when it's so illegal to have a little bit of marijuana on you, what do? You go and you resort to the things that you can go and buy from a store. And
Right.
And it's unfortunately the synthetic.
We
stuff
live in a
that-
country where we like to get fucked up.
Right.
We
By
just
any
do.
means
Anything
necessary.
that,
By any means
people who
necessary.
inhale anal nitrate, tape cleaner, VHS head tape cleaner
Right.
to get high. They get really high, but a VHS head cleaner, it goes straight to your brain, fucks you up.
Wow.
K2
there's-
Spice, like you name it, the people
These are
want
People who
it.
suck on the air cleaners. Ooh, yeah, no, that's no good.
Whip it. It went,
Very
from,
nice.
it went from going from cans of whipped cream to, oh my god, what are you putting up your
Man.
face?
Yeah.
Uh,
How about this? You know, if
Sad
everybody who
times.
smokes weed just said, fuck it, and started, you know, like, what would they do? You know, if everyone just did that, and then
We're almost
they couldn't
there.
fire everyone, right? With these stupid drug tests.
We're still at a 50-50 split, and not everybody uses it in the level that we do, and not many people can act cohesively and speak
It's
at a
so
high
many,
level
though.
like we
It's
do.
So many. Why
It's-
isn't it?
Well, because there's still a stigma about it. You have to understand, there's still the people who get their news from what is told to them. I mean, listen,
Fox.
This is not 2 weeks ago on a national program that Bill Romanowski is saying that marijuana is 50 to 75% more carcinogenic than tobacco smoke, 25%, 50% more likely to become addicted to things later in life. He's spouting off facts from the 1970s
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So,
But do people really believe this
Yes.
these days?
yes, that's the problem.
I'm new
People
to
believe
this,
what they
shit.
hear.
They're
That
still
is-
trying to
that
finish
is
their
the
Encyclopedia
problem.
Britannica from 1982. Like, I'm determined to finish marijuana. It's bad. The book says so.
South Carolina, marijuana is so frowned upon in South Carolina.
Wow.
And the things that I was preached is, this is the gateway drug. My mom preached this to me.
Well,
This is the gateway drug, and this is what they believe there.
Yeah.
Reefer Madness.
But,
is
but it's
still
like,
Yeah,
you know,
Reefer
that's how it
Madness
is in
still gets
Sweden,
shown.
too. That's how it is in Sweden too, you know. But
Absolutely.
it's like, and coming from Sweden to here, it just like seems like people are so enlightened about this.
Are you guys willing to stick around for another segment? We're going to talk to Alan about vaporizers and the
Yeah.
benefits versus what I just did, smoking a bong. Click on the link above or go to the scroll on the side. Subscribe to us and get all the newest updates about the Cannabis News at CannabiNews.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. And Erica Adamson, Henrik Larson, Alan Fratkin, Alex Mandelberg, Sam Humeid, I'm your host. Thank you all very, very much. You got to hit this. Have a great night.
Yeah. Good times. Nice.